We're going to jump into Unit 2. Unit 2 is going to be about fractions and decimals. So I have a little, some little notes over here of things that I want to go over. Fractions are no doubt something that you've seen before, and a lot of times this is fractions give students a lot of trouble. So it's always good to continually go over those. And decimals, I'm assuming you have seen before as well. And so the hope is that a lot of this is review, but it's always good to review this stuff because fractions and decimals, you're going to see them a lot in future math units. So the first thing I want to talk about are improper fractions. So an improper fraction is a fraction that is written in a way that we don't really like to see very often. And that is when you have a number that is larger on top than on bottom. Okay, so let's say we have a 2 as our denominator. Okay, if you remember, that's called the denominator. And then our 8 is going to be our numerator. And so when you see an improper fraction like this, where the numerator is larger than the denominator, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn that into a mixed number whenever you're providing your final answer. Okay, and so let's clear this space here. So if we have 8 and 2, to turn this into a mixed number, which is when you have a number with a fraction attached to it, you ask yourself, how many times does 2 fit in to 8? And this is easy with small numbers, but gets harder with larger numbers. So 2 will fit into 8 4 times, right? And so this will end up being a 4 as the final answer. But if you have an improper fraction where it doesn't fit perfectly, for example, if we have 3 as a denominator, 3 will only fit into 8 twice, right? Because 3 times would be 9, and that would be too much. So we're asking how many times 3 can fit into 8. And when we do that, we ask what can we multiply 3 by in order to be equal or smaller to 8. And that's going to be 2. Okay, so 3 times 2 is 6. That's going to mean that 3 fits into 8 twice. Okay, and so 3 times 2 is 6, which means that there are 2 left over. Okay, and that 2 is going to become the numerator in our mixed number. So it becomes a numerator. And then our denominator is just going to stay the same. We just transfer it over like that. Okay, and so what I've just done is I've turned 8 over 3. I've turned it into a mixed number. This is called a mixed number. Because it's a mixture of a whole number 2 and a fraction. So that's why it's mixed. Okay? So just to quickly summarize, we ask ourselves, how many times does 3 fit into 8? And when I say fit into, I mean, what can we multiply this 3 by to get to 8 or something less than 8? And that's going to be 2. Okay, because if we multiply by 3, it would be larger than 8, and we don't want that. So 3 times 2 will fit into this number 8, and so this 2 becomes my large number over here. Okay, and then 3 times 2 is 6, so that means I ask myself, how many leftovers are there? So essentially, I'm subtracting 8 minus 6 to get 2, and then that becomes my numerator. And the denominator here is just transferred over. Okay, and so we should always write final answers in mixed number form. So final answers in math are never written in improper fractions. Are never improper. Okay, that word improper means we don't want it. Okay, and so hopefully that makes sense for both mixed numbers and improper fractions. And again, I'm assuming this is something you've seen before, but if you need extra help, let me know. So let's do mixed number back into an improper fraction, because when we multiply, we're going to want to do that. So let me grab a different color here. Let's get like a pinky color. There we go. So let's turn a mixed number, okay, something like this, into an improper fraction, something like that. So we'll work backwards. So we just did that. Now let's do an example of working backwards. So let's say we have 1 2/3, okay, mixed number. So if I want to turn this into an improper fraction, I want it to have a large numerator that's larger than the denominator. Here's what I do. I go from the denominator, I move this way, and I multiply. So I go 3 times 1, okay, which is 3. And then I add the numerator. Okay, so multiplication this way, and then I add the numerator. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. That's going to be my numerator. Okay, so I just did all that. Multiply, add, and then I put it there as the numerator. And then just like before, my denominator is just going to stay the same. Okay, so there is my improper fraction, and I started with the pink mixed number. And you can check this. You can always go back and forth. So if I want to put this back into a mixed number, I ask myself, I do the same steps as over here. How many times does 3 fit into 5? Once. And then there are 2 left over, because 3 times 1 is 3. And there are 2 left over. I subtract, so I get 2, and then I keep that denominator the same. So this matches this, so I know I did it correct. Okay, so that's all about mixed numbers, improper fractions, and switching between the two. So the reason that's important is because we're going to multiply fractions and also divide, and we're going to divide. And you're going to need these skills to do that. All right, so let's do some multiplication. Let's just start with 1/2. Let's use the dot for multiplication. Let's do 1/2 times 1/3. The way we're going to multiply fractions is we just go straight across. So across the numerators, I do 1 times 1. And I keep that the numerator. And then the denominators, I go straight across, 2 times 3. 2 times 3 is 6. So my fraction is 1/6. So that's how we multiply very simply with fractions. Same thing if we had a numerator that becomes larger. Okay, so let's say we have 3/4 times 2 over. Let's do an improper fraction there. So if I multiply these, it's going to be the 3 times the 2. Okay, so we get 6 up here. And then we get the 4 times the 1. 4 times 1 is 4. So now what do we have? We have an improper fraction. And remember earlier I said you don't want to ever leave a final answer like this. So we're going to have to turn that into a mixed number. And You'll learn how to do this quickly, hopefully, but 4 fits into 6 twice. Or sorry, 4 does not fit into 6 twice. 4 fits into, let me grab my eraser. 4 fits into 6 once, and there's 2 left over. I keep the denominator the same, and then I have 1 2/4. Okay. Let's hold off on, if you're wanting to simplify this fraction right now, let's hold off on that for another video, because I'm not sure how many of us know how to do that, but let's just focus on multiplication, okay? So a mixed number is what we want as a final answer. We never want to keep it an improper fraction. All right, so that is how we multiply. So you'll notice when I was multiplying, all of these were in fraction form. They're not in mixed number. So if you have something as a mixed number, before you multiply, let's say you have 3 1/2 times 1/4. Before you do this multiplication, you want to turn numbers into improper fractions. You want to turn mixed numbers into improper fractions, because then you can go straight across, straight across, straight across. Okay, so I would turn this 3 1/2 into an improper, and then multiply like that. Okay, then it's just straight across, straight across. All right, so that was a lot of information there. I was going to talk about division. Let's hold off, though, because this video is already quite long. Okay, so let's do just a quick review of what we learned. Let me zoom out so I can see all of this. All right, so what did we learn in this video? Let me shrink my pen. So we learned what an improper fraction is. We learned what a whole number, a mixed number. A mixed number is. We learned how to switch between the two, or how to change between those two. And then we learned how to multiply fractions. Okay, I guess that's it. Yeah, that was a lot of information, but hopefully this is a video you can come back to. All right, that was, we're just gonna make this section 2.1, which is multiplying fractions.